this your teacher here?
Yes,
or
sir.
Who do we have?
This is Mrs. Gurley.
Hi there.
We have a very short program, and we're going to get right to it, and then at the end, I'll explain the rest of the brief afternoon that we're together. It's really meant to be a wonderful thank you to teachers for what you do. So I'm going to ask our academic dean now, Dr. Tim Boyd, to come up and make some comments.
Good afternoon. My name is Tim Boyd. I'm the academic dean here, and I also teach European history, and I wanted to say just a few brief words of welcome to you all and to thank you for being here today. You will shortly be hearing from two great students at either ends of their MBA careers who will tell you why they are grateful to the teachers they have had over the years, but what I wanted to do was to say a word of thanks on behalf of the MBA faculty for all that you have done. Because the influence of a teacher can manifest itself in a vast number of different ways. Sometimes it's a relatively small incident in itself, but it sticks with you. For example, I only ever took 1 year of classics at school, so the boys you have helped send to MBA are going to have at least twice as much fun with that than I did. But even though my recollection of Latin and Greek has long since gone the way of the Roman Empire, I can still remember almost the entire narrative of the Trojan War, thanks to the way my teacher made us act it out alongside her while she was telling us the story of it. I can also remember being aware, even as a non-communicative teenage boy, that this was obviously a subject that she loved in ways big and small. Memorably, her passion for teaching this topic to us was her unfiltered nerdiness on the occasion of explaining to a room of sophomores that the name, the Iliad, comes from combining Ilion, the Greek name for the city of Troy, with Historia, the Greek name for story. Barely able to contain her glee, she announced this meant the Iliad should really be called Troy Story. Now, I'm not sure if any of us managed anything more than a sarcastic eye roll in response, but even though it's nearly 25 years ago, I remember how much of a difference it made to know that she cared so much about what she was teaching us. Of course, as many of you will also appreciate, the influence we intend to have on our students isn't always the influence that we do have. Just this last week, I made my students watch a movie clip of a historical event we had just covered in class. The goal was to have them analyze how a movie's portrayal of history will seek to shape how you see the good guys and how you see the bad guys. And this particular clip was of Martin Luther confronting a Catholic cardinal, and I asked the students whose side of the argument they thought the director wanted them to take. Well, I think he wants us to think the cardinal is evil, one of them said. I said, okay, good. I said, and what made you think that? He said, well, he has an English accent, and people with English accents always sound evil. So that wasn't quite the influence that I was hoping to have, but it's still influence of a sort, and I'm sure that student will remember it for a long time at whatever school I transfer him to on Monday morning. Thankfully, though, this latter instance is not the type of influence we're here to celebrate this afternoon. And although creating lifelong interests and vivid memories of being in your classroom are certainly influences to be proud of, that's really for the students to thank you for. What I would like to thank you for on behalf of our faculty is that we are about to reap the benefits of your positive influence on these boys. It's an old saying that a bad workman blames his tools, but one might equally ask, how often does any kind of workman thank the person who laid the foundations? Because the boys you send us are already in great shape, and our job becomes both much easier and tremendously more enjoyable as a result. We get to guide them through the final 4 or 6 years of their schooling, and it's important that we do that well, but every time we get to see an exceptional student walk across the stage at the high school graduation, we need to remember that much of this is due to the foundations he was given by all of you. And this is true in all 3 of the characteristics we want the boys to excel in: gentleman, scholar, and athlete. In terms of being a gentleman, we have many programs dedicated to character, service, and honor, and we hope those have an impact. But the surest way that they will is if the boys have already been exposed to positive role models in those areas before they even walk through our doors. In scholarship, they will go through a rigorous and challenging academic program here, and they may encounter new interests during that time. But the intellectual spark, work ethic, and good habits they will need to make the most of those opportunities will already be in place thanks to what you have done for them. And even in terms of athletics, those early foundations are still the key. Yes, Nick Saban deserves the plaudits as he creates one national championship team after another, but so too do all the pee-wee and middle school football coaches who first identified a young player's potential and worked with him to develop into someone good enough to be recruited at Alabama. Although if any of you saw the story last season about how some of Alabama's fans were worrying that their newly recruited quarterback, who was from Hawaii, would have trouble, quote, with the language barrier, you might wonder if maybe the geography program could do with a little help there as well. And I say as full disclosure, I'm a Vanderbilt fan, so this is the only opportunity for poking fun at Alabama that I will get for the season. But either way, this is an occasion not just for the boys to say thank you, but for their future teachers to say thank you as well. So you will be hearing from them in a moment, and following that there'll be a reception and a chance to visit the library and see what they have placed there in your honor. But suffice it for me to say thank you again for all that you have done for these boys. Thank you for coming to MBA today, and I hope you enjoy your evening.
We enjoy having music at all of our events, and Paul Butts is in the 9th grade class of 2022 here and came from Linden Waldorf, is going to play a song that I know most of you know. Please join me in welcoming Paul to the keyboard. Thank you, Paul. Two of our new students now will read their letters that they wrote. So if Maine could come up, and then Jack, please join me in welcoming both Maine and Jack.
Hello, my name is Maine Billings, and I'm honoring Mrs. Camille Gift from Harding Academy. Mrs. Gift is my influential teacher. She deserves this spot because of all the wonderful things she did to help me. Mrs. Gift taught English, reading, and grammar. She was a 4th grade teacher. She taught me how to write wonderful narratives. When things were going bad for me, she would always find a way to make everything better. In the school year, we would have reading clubs with other people in our class. There were about 2 to 4 people in a group. We would decide on a book and read and comment on it. This helped a lot with bonding and making friends. The year after fourth grade, Mrs. Gift developed an illness. During winter break, she sadly passed away. Everybody was extremely shocked how fast everything happened and that she died. Mrs. Gift is a wonderful person that loved to teach and help children with life problems. I will never forget about her.
Hi, I'm Jack Hood, and being a 7th grader in my first year as MBA has been quite a whirlwind so far. But the whole reason why I've been making it through without much problem is because of how well my past teachers and mentors have prepared me for this. I've had many teachers that have made a difference in my life. In fact, every teacher that I've ever had has made a difference in my life. The one teacher that I want to focus on now, though, was my 5th grade math and science teacher, Miss Judici. She played one of the most important roles in the development and growth of me academically and me as a person. Because at the time, I was more familiar with the quotes, "I forgot my homework at home," and the, "Wait, I thought we were supposed to do page 132, not 32, more than anyone I knew. Yeah, by the end of the year, I'd learned my lesson, learned the hard way not to procrastinate, just to get my work done. Miss Judici was an all-around amazing teacher. She explained everything in great deal in context and made sure every student knew all the material we were going over. She also took me and a few other students to an advanced math class, which really helped me prepare for algebra and some of the other hard math classes that I am taking today and will be taking in the future. 5th grade was the year when I really started learning algebra and some of the other harder math classes, which really helped set me up for where I am now. I also love that Miss Judici was very energetic and how she had us do a bunch of fun projects that made her class more enjoyable that year. She joked around, laughed, and it was super fun with us, which made it easier and more engaging to learn. Now, the reason I chose Mrs. Judici was because of how amazing of a person and a teacher she was, and how it was easy to learn in her class because of that. And lastly, I'd like to thank her and all the other many teachers that really made a huge positive impact on me and their other students. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack and Maine. And lastly, before I dismiss us, one of our seniors is going to make some comments. I'll say from a teacher's point of view, I happen to teach Tillman, that we understand as teachers what a terrific privilege it is to work with great people like Tillman. So please join me in welcoming Tillman Dean.
Good evening. It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife. An opening line like that from an 18th century novel did not immediately engage me. Nothing from the back cover of Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice caught my attention. Marrying off a family of daughters, pointless courtesies, and love drama. Although Pride and Prejudice still isn't one of my favorite books, after reading this novel last year in English, I did acquire an appreciation for the novel. The main catalyst for my change in opinion was my teacher, Mr. Kelly. Participating in Mr. Kelly's discussions last year revealed the subtle elegance of Jane Austen's way of building tension with conversation, developing characters, and using satire. It turns out the line is poking fun at the societal expectation of marriage for women, as well as the seriousness of economics for women at this time. Mr. Kelly's insights and passion inspired me to continue to explore literature and poetry outside of the classroom. This summer, when I discovered on exchange at Winchester College that the house Jane Austen had died in was only a few houses down the street from my boarding house, I proudly emailed a picture to Mr. Kelly. 5 years ago, I was sitting as a new 7th grader in the crowd with my 6th grade teacher, Mrs. Clark. I had just graduated from St. Paul, and I had no idea what to expect from MBA. I was intimidated because my sister and cousins had gone to a different school, and I'd heard daunting stories of the struggles of IPS and diagramming. What I had quickly found out, however, was that although MBA presented me with new academic challenges, my teachers from elementary school had prepared me to succeed. When I think back on my 5th and 6th grade years especially, I'm incredibly grateful that I had incredible teachers like Mr. Radbill, Mrs. Clark, and Mrs. Cobb. I grew close to these teachers because, like Mr. Kelly, they wanted to share their passions with me and wanted me to succeed. From 7th grade in IPS with Mr. Villamain to having Mr. Joy as my English teacher this year, I've had teachers throughout MBA that have influenced me in profound ways. Mr. Anderson's meticulousness in grammar class taught me to avoid careless mistakes. Herr Doherty allowed me to discover my passion for German. Mr. Moxley sparked my interest in poetry. Over the course of my time, I've also learned how to make the most of the student-teacher relationship. Going in for help in the mornings or during break is not something to be embarrassed about, but is instead one of the best ways to learn the material that you're struggling with, and it shows your teachers that you care. Asking questions and actively participating in class discussions is another vital part of learning an MBA, and it has similar results. It's junior year, and I'm sitting in my calculus-based physics class. I hadn't taken calculus yet, but I was really excited about finally getting to take physics, and I wanted to challenge myself. Mr. Barclay had finished writing the integral on the board, and I did not understand it. Despite my confusion, I decided not to ask him a question. I thought that I could impress him by figuring out these concepts on my own. A few days later, I was handed a failed homework assignment. The next morning, I decided to give up on my stubbornness and come in for help. And after talking one-on-one about how to do basic integrals and derivatives for about 30 minutes, I felt much more confident, and I actually understood the way he did the problem. Throughout the year, I continued to come in for more homeworks in the morning and ask more questions in class than I did during my other classes. I ended up getting to know Coach Barclay a lot better, and in the spring, he asked me to be on the team that went to a physics and engineering competition. So teachers, thank you so much for being here tonight. Your presence alone demonstrates the impact that you've had on these students, and it shows that they have recognized and appreciated that impact. And boys, I hope that tonight you thank the teachers and remember them throughout your time at MBA. Thank you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed our short program that truly is just a thanks to teachers. And thank you to our own students and to Dr. Boyd and to our great musician. Here are the plans for the rest of the afternoon. There is a reception in the lobby of this building, so please enjoy the food and drink here. And then, if you would, go to the library, which is off to the right as you go out the front doors. There'll be people guiding you, but it's just 2 buildings over. You'll see it behind the Carter building here, so just go to the right there. And please go into the library. There are 2 things we want you to see in the library. One is that we have certificates for all of you as a tangible way to say this is a special day from our point of view, and we hope from your point of view for being here and being nominated as an influential teacher. And then secondly, we have placed a book in the library in your honor, and we'd love for you to see that book today. Again, our thanks for your being here this afternoon. Many of us will be around to say hello and to say how much we appreciate your being on the campus. Thanks again, and have a great day.
Well, I'll show you how.
It's gonna want.
It wasn't an actual argument.